I know a lot of times living with MS can affect the relationships that we have with people. Dom, can you share your thoughts on that?
If I was going to rate the tricky parts of MS, this would be up there. I didn't understand when I was diagnosed just how much I was being affected in other ways, in sort of mental ways. I was suppressing it. I was just not dealing with it, etc. I remember my daughter saying to me, "God, Daddy, you used to be quite angry at times," and it's just embarrassing. You just want to put your head in your hands, thinking, "Oh my God, that's one of my child's memories of me when I was young." When I got married the first time, I told my wife that I had MS, and she just ordered some stuff from the MS Society. And I got to say, it was the kind of stuff I got really angry, not with her, with it, because I just looked at it, people in wheelchairs, and I said, that's not me. We met on mountain bikes. We met mountain biking. It's not the same for, and that upset me that there's certain views of it. So yeah, is it tricky? For sure. And if we scroll forward, I was married for 15 years. When I was getting divorced, my neuro said to me, this is really, she ended up writing me a thing for my divorce that I was stunned with. Just talking about how the MS affected me. And it's like if you get a bad school report, you kind of don't want to read it, even though you know that
Yeah.
it's probably largely correct. If you've been chinning off and not doing your work and all that kind of stuff, and the teacher calls you on it and writes it down, it makes it real. And so I spent a lot of time about 5 years ago when I felt it all drop, apologizing to people for being what I considered to be an arse. And it was really nice how people were actually kinder than I thought. I thought I'd been more of an arse. If I was going to play it again, Brett, I would tell people that there is no certainty. I'm not sure. You're kind of gonna have to go with me on this. I'll try not to be an arse. I'd appreciate it if you told me if I was being one. I won't necessarily like it at the time. Yeah, what's your experience? I mean, have you got kids?
Yes, I have two step kids,
Right,
11 and 12. And I will tell you what, so my diagnosis happened 4 months after my husband and I got married.
right.
So we were on, honeymoon status, newly married couple, cloud nine, happy go lucky, joy, 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 to whoa, no marginal, severe health issues up until that MS diagnosis. So it was kind of like this yo-yo of a situation. And I'll tell you what, he's been so supportive and I'm so grateful and blessed. I will say that it has been a very humbling experience, and I've shifted into a very vulnerable place of being completely transparent with him. I think communication with your partner and with your spouse, family, friends, coworkers, anybody who you're, significantly around for a good amount of time, communication is key. They're not going to understand if you're not willing to put yourself out there and explain. And I know that's a really uncomfortable thing for a lot of people to do, but it's so important. It's so important.
When you get diagnosed with MS, it's everything. You can't help for it not to be everything because it's in your head all the time. But looking back, one of the things I would say is sometimes it's not MS. Sometimes it's because we're people. We're human beings. We're shaped by our experiences, our environment, our upbringings, etc. Some relationships work, some don't. Somebody made a good point to me the other day. I was in Holland for Ekströms, and they said to me, why is the success of every marriage measured by whether or not one person dies? Sometimes you grow apart with people. Sometimes it's not the MS. So it's tough, but you got to
Right.
keep that in
Yeah.
balance and not beat yourself up with is it because I've got MS?
I agree. And I think boundaries too, that's something that I
Yeah.
try to approach life with saying, okay, I know what my challenges are with MS and I know what my obstacles are. So I'm going to make other choices and be really picky about the decisions that I make. It's not, adding insult to injury. So my best friend, for example, she is so patient and she's so understanding. And I had to say goodbye to a lot of friendships of people that were faulting me for canceling all the time. And I kindly explain, hey, sometimes I don't know what my body's gonna do, so you just got to kind of roll with it. And
They're not really friends. You got
right,
friends for a reason,
exactly.
friends for a season, and friends for life. And the ones that are for a reason,
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
it,
And some people understand and some people don't, but the right ones that understand, those are the right ones. Those are the ones to keep around.
But on a relationship point of view, it's not your job to make somebody else care or understand, and it's not your fault if they don't. And if you can look yourself in the eye and think, well, I've tried my best to explain it, and frankly, if they're going to be
Right.
awkward, or to use my favorite word, arse, then that's not your problem. And you mustn't beat yourself up about it. But one point, I said, kids, I introduced my daughter to it fairly early in a sort of, should we say, age appropriate way. So it's just like, daddy
Yes.
isn't always, should we say, top of his game sometimes. And I didn't want to have to deal with, ta-da, you're 14. By the way, your dad's got a chronic illness. Didn't mention this your entire life until now. Kids, I think, would be a bit hacked off. I think kids are cleverer than we think. So
yes, they see everything and they understand. But we at Lived Health, we actually did a video not too long ago on this, and I spoke with Natalie on children and making those adjustments as a mom. And I think the best gift that we can give to our kids is transparency, because if it's not being presented in a way that it's negative and scary, of course that's going to instill fear in them.
Someone else is going to tell them something about it.
Exactly. My husband and I, we made the decision when I was diagnosed to be transparent with the kids. They were 7 and 8 at the time. And we, used words that they would understand, and we made it kid friendly for their age bracket. But it was, hey, when you see mom fall, or when she walks into a wall, don't get, oh my gosh, mom, are you okay? Just say, hey, mom, watch out for that. So me personally, I try to flip everything into like a comedic sense, because I'm a dork and I like to make, light of daunting things. But I think being, open and transparent with your kids is, like you said, is so important, because they do see everything.
For sure. And one of the top things, I think, is if you're newly diagnosed, you're struggling with it enough yourself, but you just got to remember, if there's kids or a partner involved or something, it's probably going to pay off in the long run, like you say, to bring them into this knowledge fairly early on. I've heard somebody once say, oh, they left me because I had MS. And I'm thinking, well, aren't you lucky then? Because they're obviously not the person that's right for you, and they don't deserve you, and they can start off.
I so agree. Every time I hear that, it grinds my gears, because you know what? Things happen for a reason. Yep. Balancing life with MS is tricky, but balancing relationships with MS is even harder. And I think it takes a lot of self-discipline. It takes a lot of self-awareness and setting those boundaries and adapting. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear what you think about this topic of balancing MS and relationships with other people, with family, with friends. Like and comment. Don't forget to hit that bell so you get all the notifications and you never miss a video. New videos are coming out every Tuesday.